So I want to talk to you about signing into and using the OneNote class notebook feature that we're going to use for the course. So you should get an email asking you to sign in to our create account for Office 365. It'll bring you to a page like this. I already have an account set up, so I'm just going to sign in. Although when you sign in, you're probably going to have to do some additional things like give a security phone number or something. And when you sign in, you'll be brought to a splash page that looks something like this, with different Microsoft apps up here, and then maybe some documents down here. I think the easiest thing to do to find the class notebook, maybe if you want to go to OneDrive. OneDrive is like a Google Drive, just for all of your Microsoft files. And so then I'm going to go to Shared, and Shared with Me up here, and Shared with Me Experimental Physics. There it is, Physics 389. So I'll click on that, and then it will open up in a web browser now the online electronic lab notebook that we're going to be using for the course. And so you'll see that there are a couple different things going on over here. Here's the section organization. So there's a welcome section, which is just some welcome pages that we have here, some descriptions of how to use OneNote, some basics of using OneNote. I suggest you take a look through those. There's a section called Content Library, Group Lab Notebooks, and then also a section with your name. Let's just go to the section with your name on it. If you click on that, it'll expand. There's 4 main sections in there. We're not really going to use much of them at all. They just happen to be there. They're naturally created when you create a notebook. And so there's not really anything here that we need to do too much with. There is, however, in Group Lab Notebooks, if you open that and expand that, you should find under Group Lab Notebooks a name or a group section with your name on it. So here's mine with me and myself on it. And there's an example lab notebook here that I've already started with a title and then some details inside of here. What we're going to be mainly using in the class is OneNote in the computer itself. And so you can click on OneNote, and then that will bring up the same class notebook, but open in OneNote after it takes a little bit to load. This one is organized in OneNote in a very similar way, although there's an extra section here because I'm signed in with my teacher account. So there's the content library, group lab notebooks, and then your file, and then you won't see this one, teacher only. That's only for me to see. So I just want to click through what these might look like and what's in here. So in the content library, everybody can see this content library. And then there's 2 other sections. There's a section with examples that has an example lab, for instance, here for you to see some of what an example lab might look like for the course. There's a tab that says homework, and this is just an example of how you can attach homeworks on here. So here, homework number 1, and the actual homework assignment is linked onto this page that you can open up. If I want to get back out to where I was, there's this little arrow, back arrow right here, and so I'll click back out there. If I click on this main lab notebook here, or notebook name here, it gives me shows me all the notebooks that are possible in OneNote right now, and I want to be in Experimental Physics 389, so I'll make sure I'm in there. Okay, so we have the content library which we were just in. We have the section, the notebook with your name on it, which doesn't have anything in it, and may or may not, you can put things in here if you want, but that's not where we're going to do the majority of our work. We're going to be doing the majority of our work in groups under the Group Lab Notebook section. And so again, I'll go to my group section, Group 1, Brett and Brett, which is me. In this lab notebook then, we can click anywhere we want and type for instance. And so you can write notes to yourself if you need to. We have access to all of the formatting that you would want in Word. So if I select all of that text, I can go up here to this ribbon and click on Home. That brings down some options, so I could bold that text, I could italicize it, I could make it into bullets, whatever I want, change the font. I can use the highlighter to highlight the text if I want. Okay, so one of the nice things about using an electronic lab notebook is that you can draw on the screen. So if I click on Draw, I can select, for instance, a pen, and then I can draw a setup with a pen. So you can do your normal hand drawing that you would do in a lab notebook, and now you can do it in OneNote as well. I can enter equations into OneNote. So I can go up here to Insert, and then Insert Equation. And now it says Type Equation here, so I could use, say, y is equal to 1/2 a t squared, and then it writes that equation out for me. You can also insert equations not having to go up to Insert, but you can use Alt equals. If you use Alt equals, it automatically inserts an equation for you, and then you can write whatever equation you want. Sometimes you find that there's a little too much crowding going on, and it'd be nice to move things around within your electronic lab notebook. And this is one of the really nice things about electronic lab notebooks, is you can pick things up and move them around. So for instance, I could insert some space with the Insert Space tool, and for this I click and then drag down, and then that inserts blank space inside there. I can select things by dragging, and then I can pick them up and move them wherever I need them to be. Or I can just select individual elements and move them to wherever I need to be. In order to reorganize and organize material in my lab notebook on the fly as I go, so I don't have to worry too much about organization as I'm doing it, I can kind of clean up as I go. I don't have to plan ahead too much. If I want to take some data, I can insert a table really easily in Excel. So for instance, let's say I want to take data of dot number and the position of the dot number. So I write, say, dot number for the heading of one of my table columns, and then I press Tab, and OneNote automatically makes a table for me. So then I'll write the heading of the next column, position in centimeters, and then I hit Enter, and it takes me down, it gives me a new row and takes me down to the next spot in the row. So I can fill out a table really easily within OneNote. So let's say I want to analyze my data. So I can click somewhere over here, go up to Insert. Now I can go over to Spreadsheet, and New Excel Spreadsheet, and then this will insert a new Excel spreadsheet into OneNote for me to work with. There we go. I can edit it directly from here, or I can double click here, and then it will open up the Excel spreadsheet for me. So let me go back to my original OneNote notebook, copy my data, and just paste it right in Excel. And then I can do whatever analysis I want with this data, making a scatter plot, for instance, within Excel. If I hit Control S and save and exit out, you see that OneNote automatically updates a live version of that Excel spreadsheet for me within my notebook. So those are some of the basic features of getting set up with OneNote and the Lab Notebook Online. I suggest you take a moment to sign in and see if you can figure out how it works.